Hello, puppies and kittens. Welcome to another episode of Qur'an Lessons for the Infidel, and we are nearing the end. We've come to the last two chapters in the order of Revelation, and this one, the one we're going to be doing now, Surah 9, is among the most controversial. It's one of the longer ones, but it's also the controversies behind it necessitate that it be dealt with in more than one session. I'm predicting at least two, possibly three sessions to cover this one surah. All right, Bogey, you want to take it away?
Well, I guess I have to. So, this is today's session. We're going to go through some of the Surah 9. Title is Repentance. That's a good translation. Surah 9 has 4 abrogations. We shall discuss them as they come up. Interestingly enough, this is indeed one of the more controversial chapters of the Quran, precisely because of what it says and what it instructs. Generally, Muslims finding it a little bit too out there, even for today's day. And of course, organizations like ISIS and the other jihadist Muslims cling to it like, a pearl, which it is. And every other moderate Muslim is trying to shuffle away from it. And some of them even go to the point of, okay, this surah is not legit, it's just being fabricated. So we have all sort of opinion and take on this surah precisely for what it says. And it says a lot of horrible things. But to add to this point, before we start, when you concentrate your effort on Surah 9, you're missing a large part of the point. Surah 9 is only controversial if you miss all the other hints and instructions in the Quran that practically say the same thing. So, even entirely removing Surah 9 and denying its existence isn't going to get you a lot of mileage. Anyway, so my first note is 9.1. And 9.1, you can bracket it into, okay, this speaks about that specific treaty and doesn't apply to today.
Bogi, may I interrupt you and ask you quick, why this surah doesn't start with normal Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim?
I don't know why it doesn't start with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, but it's not the only one in the Quran that doesn't start with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So that's not a particular distinction.
I read that it is.
It is.
It is not. There are
Abdel Halim, the translator, made a note of that and said that
Yes.
this is the only surah that doesn't start with that.
There is another one that doesn't start with that.
There is no other surah which doesn't start with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It is the only one.
Yeah, I checked.
Which
There
one?
is another one that doesn't.
So
Yeah.
let's start with Khalid. Do you know why it is?
Yes. Well, look, if you want, I can tell you some of the opinions that they say that the traditional Muslims give for why it doesn't. The most common one is it's a surah which is sent down with the sword, right? So it's meant to be just about killing and stuff like that. So it wouldn't be right to start with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of God the Merciful, etc. The other opinion is that it's actually part of a previous surah. So Surah Al-Anfal, okay, Surah 8 is actually, and Surah 9 actually one surah, right? So some have said that it's one surah. Both of these are nonsensical because Surah 9 was revealed in the second year of Hijrah. This surah is one of the last surahs revealed. Surah 8, was revealed in the second year. And this one is revealed like 8 years later. There's no way. There's also other surahs which are said to be two surahs. In fact, like two surahs are supposed to be one surah together, and they have a Bismillah in the middle. The real reason for this surah not having a Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is because it does revolve around Quraysh, about the tribe of Quraysh and the treaty mentioned in that first verse, which the Muslims had with the tribe of Quraysh. And if you remember in the story of Hudaybiyah, where that treaty was made, one of the things that happened while they were sitting to write it down is the Prophet started writing it with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and they said, no, don't write it with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, right? They said, we don't know this. We don't want you to put in Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim in the treaty. So when this surah comes down, which straight away is discussing that treaty, it does not include the Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
Okay, cool. Sorry for cutting you off, Bogi. If you remember the name of the other surah, please mention it, because to my knowledge, it's the only one. And go ahead. I think you were with verse number 2, right?
I was on with, well, I had a note on verse number 1.
Okay, let's go.
And again, the time bracketing is not really a valid argument unless it really is a time bracketing, like it is talking specifically about a certain treaty. But generally, the Quran doesn't do that, and when it does, it still is an example to be followed in the future. So don't underestimate the potency of this. So basically, absolves Muslims from prior treaties with the infidels. I do get sorted about tafsir and whatnot, but basically, since this is a book of all people in all time, and we can discuss that, maybe it isn't, then if Muslims had a treaty or agreement with a non-believer, the Muslims are absolved from following said treaty if they don't like anything the unbelievers did or do, regardless of whether it was covered by the treaty or not, which is kind of a point we're going to get to. Like, if your treaty says you shall let us to Mecca to do the Hajj next year, which was the subject of the treaty, and Quraysh decided behind their backs to make a trade embargo against them through another tribe, right? That would invalidate this treaty, although the treaty does not require them not to collaborate with other tribes. So you get the point here. Anyways, that's
my interjection on that is, of course, this surah is not what Bogi said is exactly what the traditional Quraysh-based tafsirs would say, that this in this verse, God is basically undoing all the treaties, all right, or the specific treaty in this case. That is just
well,
not
it does
the case.
say that though. Like
no,
if you read,
it doesn't say. It doesn't say. Let me have a say on this.
Bogi, please don't.
Minallahi wa rasulahu.
Bogi,
Wait.
try to watch the delays and try not to talk over other people.
Okay.
Yeah, so it doesn't say naqdun min Allahi wa rasulihi, that God and His Messenger are undoing the treaties. It is bara'a, okay? Bara'a is a sort of like innocence from a treaty which another side has broken.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it is. So
Yeah,
I don't know
sure
what the technical term is in English when you have two parties. Okay, we have a contract between them. When one breaks it, the other side is released. Okay, because that side is broken, and we will see that explicitly mentioned in a few verses down, that this is only regarding those who have broken their treaties. It's only about those. Okay, you will see that in a few verses down.
I'm sorry to cut you off. I didn't mean to, but just to mention to the listeners, the official narrative is the polytheists are the one who broke the treaty, not the Muslims. That, to my knowledge, correct, Khalid?
Yeah, that's right. That's what led to the conquest of Mecca, right? The Meccans broke their treaty, all right, and so that's when Muhammad marched on Mecca. Okay, but what is mentioned here? So the treaty mentioned here, it's either the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, or it is naming Quraysh by saying they are the ones who you had the treaty with. Okay, but in the end they broke their treaty. Okay, so this is like long after the breaking of the treaty. This is in the 9th year Hijrah. So Hudaybiyah had already been broken. Mecca had already been conquered. Okay, and Quraysh had sort of entered Islam nominally. Okay, so they were given amnesty. أذهبوا فأنتم الطلقاء. So they had the aman, and the Arabs call it an aman and ahd, right? That they had a security and peace. Okay, and that is a treaty. I mean, just like now, anybody born in any country, a citizen of the country, they don't need to actually sign a treaty with in their country saying I vow not to do whatever. No, they are already within the security of the nation. So this is what Quraysh ultimately broke, and we'll come to that.
No, wait a minute. You're moving the situation from the time of before the conquering of Mecca to after.
Yeah, look, let me explain it this way, okay? So when it says, what does it? It says, "Bara'atu min Allahi wa rasulihi," to who? إِلَّا الَّذِينَ عَاهَدتُّم مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. Who are they? الَّذِينَ عَاهَدتُّم مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. Who are they?
The polytheists from Mecca, yes.
Yes, okay. So now it's saying God is having a bara'ah from them because of their breaking of the treaties. Their breaking of their treaties, okay?
Did they break it after? Yeah, did they break it after the conquering of Mecca? Do you say that there were polytheists still in Mecca?
Yes. No, they're being called mushrikeen. Yes, they're being called mushrikeen. The Meccans are being called mushrikeen in here.
Yeah, so you're saying that when Muhammad conquered Mecca, destroyed all the polytheist idols and forbid their worship, there's still polytheists there.
He didn't forbid anybody's worship.
He did.
He didn't.
Yes, he did.
The people. He entered Mecca and he said, "Adhabu fa'antum at-tulaqa." Go and you are free.
Yeah, when he was asking them about what he's gonna do to them, he didn't say.
Yeah. And what did he do by forcing anybody to become Muslim? He didn't. In fact,
when you destroy someone,
how can you worship idols if they're destroyed though?
That's the thing.
He didn't.
Yes, he did.
Hold on, calm down. He destroyed the idols in Mecca, in the Kaaba.
Yeah.
In the Kaaba. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But they remained mushrikeen.
But you have to understand that if you need to worship an idol, you go to the temple and worship it. And then what they're doing, they go to that temple and worship it there. So when you destroy their worship place, what happens? You forbid them from worship.
No, they had their idols in their homes as well. Okay, they had idols in their homes. They had numerous idols. It wasn't just the ones which were in the Kaaba, right?
So,
but yeah, he did destroy the ones in the Kaaba. But it's no. I mean, are you saying that all of them became Muslim? No, there are some, like the son of Abu Jahl, didn't become Muslim. He fled.
We're arguing over whether their worship was prohibited, and to some degree, at least, it certainly was.
Yes, and the thing is, because what's going on here, the Quranic Islam, is moving the war verses from before the conquering of Mecca, where the traditional story is, where they broke an actual war happens, to some sort of policing action in the state. So what's happening here, there's a change in the nature of the war from actually a conquering an aggressor war to a policing action within the state.
Yeah, there was subterfuge. Yeah, there was subterfuge.
It was before the conquering.
So, no, look, I'm saying that the Quraysh broke their covenants many times. Okay, they broke the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, which led to the conquest of Mecca. Okay, is that part clear?
Okay,
yeah, that part's clear, right? That's
that part's clear.
Yeah. Okay. After they had the Prophet was in charge of Mecca. Okay, what did they do? We'll come to the verses. I mean, I don't want to get stuck on this one because it will mention. Okay, what they do is they continue to break the oath, the covenants. Okay, the covenants of security.
So while I was reading the tafsir today, there are verses later down the surah that says that the polytheists are filthy and they are no longer allowed in Mecca. So what I understood from the tafsir, that it was then when they were banned from doing pilgrimage to Mecca, right?
Yeah, so it means they were still around. Right? The mushrikeen were still around. They were still mushrikeen.
Yeah, that's what I understood. Yeah. So let's move to verse number 2. So we have like kind of, this surah is really controversial. So let's try to cut a little bit of time on these verses that aren't really controversial, because we're gonna get to them really soon. So verse number 2, who wants to? I have a question about it, actually.
Verse number 2 is actually abrogated.
Okay, so what are the 4 months they talk about? They are not the haram month, right?
They are the haram months, yes.
Okay.
But,
I say they're not.
but it's abrogated in part by 9:5.
Okay, let's move to, unless someone has
I
something.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
want to bring something on 9:3.
Yeah, well, let me just say about 9:2. So it says, so these are, of course, again, we're talking about, definitely this is the mushrikeen of Mecca, right? That's clear from the first verse. We're talking about the mushrikeen of Mecca, all right? And it says, travel through the earth, okay, 4 months. 4 months from the time of the announcement that will be made. Okay, so these surahs were announced by Ali in the Hajj, and we'll come to that in a few verses down. And then it says something very interesting here. وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّكُمْ غَيْرُ مُعْجِزِ اللَّهِ, and know that you shall not be able to escape God, or you shall not be able to make you weaken God. You'll not show God to be weak. Okay. And this is in view with Quraysh and their extensive allies, which they made during this time. So after the Prophet conquered Mecca, Quraysh didn't just become Muslim and say, okay, yes, we're all Muslim as the traditional account says. Okay, no, they continued their war, but it was more subtle. It was subterfuge. They employed the northern Arab tribes, Christian tribes, and we'll see that as we get down into the surah. They set up the Masjid al-Dirar, also mentioned in the surah. They tried to assassinate Muhammad on the way back from Tabuk. So all of this is their breaking of the treaty. This is their breaking of the next treaty. This is why now they are being declared war against. And unfortunately, and this is the real unfortunate thing, is that the Muslims did not heed the call. So the Muslims did not open another battle against Quraysh. In fact, they disobeyed the Prophet and the Quran in that. And we'll come to that again.
Yeah.
So my translation is somewhat different. It says, the idolaters may move about the land for 4 months, but bear in mind that there is no escape, and that God will disgrace those who defy him. Nothing about, you will not make God look weak.
Okay, so this is where it's just part of the difficulties of translations. Okay, if you look at some other translations, you'll find other things. They will say you will not disgrace God. Some will say that, but the Arabic says غير معجزين. So ijaz, you know how like they say the ijaz of the Quran. Ajiz is to be incapable. The word in Arabic ajiz, it means to be incapable, to render something incapable. Like ajuz is an old person who can't do anything. Okay, so in Arabic it says know that you cannot incapacitate God, or you can't make him weak, or you can't outdo him. That kind of idea. It's a difficult thing to translate, but some of the Arabic speakers can confirm that, right? It comes from ajiz, غير معجز الله.
It's not really difficult to translate, but you can certainly write a book about it. So
how would you render it?
If the polytheists, the unbelievers of Mecca, are allowed to move around freely, aka they are free from their obligations as per the treaty for the next 4 months, because we're talking about the holy months here. But after that, there will be all-out war, because they have already absolved themselves in verse 1 from the treaty. They'll just let them go for 4 months. They are not going to defeat God or stomp him in those 4 months, right?
Exactly. The idea is that
after that, this whole thing is already abrogated by 9:5, which is find them wherever you can find them and talk to them nicely and gently.
No, it's not abrogated, and This
We'll
abrogation
come
thing
to
is just nonsense. But anyway, look, the point is, to answer Aaron's thing, it's basically saying, look, exactly like sort of like Bogi said, you are given 4 months to travel, do whatever you want. Okay.
No,
But
no, 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 no. They're not given 4 months. This just happened to have at the beginning of the holy months.
No.
So
It's given
you
4 months.
are not to attack them during the holy months. The holy months
No.
must be
Okay.
observed.
I have to intercede here for a minute. According to Ibn Kathir, who is again one of the biggest Sunni tafsirs, I know the Quranic Islam have his own way of looking at it, which is more aligned with the Shia than the Sunni. But the 4 month, according to the traditional Sunni, is it's 4 month from the Hajj, for the Hajj, which are the Ashhur al-Haram. So those are the 4 months that talks about.
Yeah, that's what some would say. But look, I mean, this announcement is made.
Yes, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like, so we
Yeah,
don't
that's
argue.
true. It's true.
Yeah,
It's true.
it's-
It's true what you
it's
said.
the-
Yeah. In
It
terms
is.
of
Yes.
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
sorry.
The traditional Mubarak, yeah, you're right. Traditional thing, that's what they say. But you'll see later that this announcement was made on the day of Hajj, right? وَأَذَانٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ. The next verse, right? On the day of Hajj. Now, the day of Hajj is in the middle of those 3 months. Okay?
Yes.
So then they have. So that means from that time of the announcement, they have 4 months. Okay. It can't be any other way, right? How you have 4 months? Okay. When we announce this, from the time that this is announced in Hajj, okay, you have 4 months. The next 4 months. Now Hajj is in the middle of Dhul Hijjah. After Dhul Hijjah, you just have one of the sacred months, Muharram, and that's it. Okay, where are the 4? They have to wait until next year. Okay, no, it's talking 4 months from the time of the announcement. Okay,
Yeah, to be honest, that's what I also understood from Ibn Kathir.
Yeah, but going to Aaron's thing about what does it mean, but it's basically, okay, so you have 4 months to sort of do what you want. I know that no matter what allies you make, no matter how you try to sort of like hit back or organize, you're not going to win out. That's what that part is saying. Okay, and go for the earth, but know that you will not be able to weaken God, sort of. So that's the idea behind that.
I'm not really concerned about God or weakening God. My concern is the cult that follows him.
Yeah, so I'll get to those as well.
It's the fact. It's the
But
fact.
it indicates the amount of links that Quraysh had. Because Quraysh, okay, they had a lot of allies. Okay, Abu Sufyan during that time, he went out to the Byzantine, right, to meet with Hirqal. Okay, and they met with the northern Christian tribes, and he had links with people in Medina because they were traders. Abu Sufyan and Quraysh, they were traders. Traders generally have links with all these places where they were, allies in different places. So that's the issue. This phrase, وَعَلِمُوا أَنَّكُمْ غَيْرُ مُعْجِزِ اللَّهِ, it shows that they had strength. They thought themselves powerful enough to be able to contend against the Islamic State at the time.
All right. So, anyone has more notes before verse number 5?
Yeah, I have.
Yes. Go ahead.
I have a note. Khalid mentioned something about that in verse 3. It's mentioned that this happens on the day of the Hajj. However, the Hajj takes it's more than 1 day. It takes place in a span of time relatively big.
Around 10 days.
So, right. So my version in my language is a little bit more detailed here, and it mentions that it was revealed during the Eid al-Adha. This is the day during the Hajj where you're supposed to do the sacrifice. It's a reference to the sacrificial lamb, a reference to Abraham's faith that was put to the test. Now,
Ishmael and the Islamic narrative. Yeah.
Right. I just wanted to say for the audience that in Islam, it's not Isaac, the one who was going to be sacrificed. It was Ishmael. And I do want to mention just quickly a thing that I didn't consider before, and it was mentioned by somebody else, so a person that is part of the non-prophets in the ACA, and that is that Abraham failed that test. And that's something I didn't think about before, because he was asked to kill his son, his offspring. And what he should have thought is that, well, my God is, I mean, obviously he wouldn't have thought that, but what I would have thought is, well, my God is a God of love, a God of peace and compassion. He wouldn't be asking me to sacrifice my own son. So the fact that he did and had to be stopped is testament that he failed the test. That is an interesting way to put it, and I happen to agree with that.
Yeah, I've thought of that as well. But going to what you said exactly, I mean, the verse says Yawm al-Hajj al-Akbar. The announcement is to the people on the day of Hajj al-Akbar, which is basically the Mina. And this was taken by Ali ibn Abi Talib. So in the ninth, once these surahs were revealed, the Prophet had already sent Abu Bakr to lead the Hajj. And then when the surah was revealed, he sent Ali to go and make the announcement. But you're right, it was done on a specific day. And regarding the rest of this verse, so it says, "Al-Nas Yawm al-Hajj al-Akbar," and Allah again is telling that God is free from the mushrikeen and His Messenger. And the reason why that's said on Hajj, and it's to the people, right? وَأَذَانُ مِنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ إِلَى النَّاسِ, to the people, okay? It is to put out to all the people that God and His Messenger are not the ones who are breaking this covenant. We are free from the mushrikeen because of their breaking of the covenants, okay? And Allah bari'un min al-mushrikeen, okay? And then it says, addressing the mushrikeen, فَإِن تَوَلَّيْتُمْ فَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّكُمْ غَيْرُ مُعْجِزِينَ. Again, it says, if you turn away, first of all, it says, if you repent. Okay, so again, it's talking to the mushrikeen of Mecca who had outwardly been Muslim. Outwardly, they had accepted Islam, but they had no Iman. They were still mushrikeen in the end. Okay, which is why they were subterfuging against the Islamic State. Again, that will come up. Okay, so the verse says, if you repent, it's better for you. But if you turn away, then know that you cannot, again, incapacitate God. غير معجز الله. And
Yeah,
so
you keep skipping the
all.
part that there is no escape. That this is an all-encompassing, all-enveloping zombie apocalypse. Everybody will be turned, and there's no escape.
Again, look, in Arabic, it doesn't say no escape. It just says know that you cannot incapacitate God. وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّكُمْ غَيْرُ مُعْجِزِي اللَّهِ. Okay, that you're not going to be able to work against God.
Which means there is no escape. You're not going to succeed in
okay,
anything. Whatever you're going to
say
try, you're not going to succeed.
Yeah,
That's what
exactly.
it
Whatever you
says.
try, that's perfect. Yeah.
Which
Whatever you try,
means,
it's going to fail.
which, if you wanted to euphemize it a little bit, it will be a no escape situation.
No escape would be like I'm coming after you to kill you, and that is going to come up. Okay, but this part is not. It's saying that you will fail. You cannot cause God to fail. You will fail.
Okay.
No matter what you do,
Which means there is no escape.
Guys, on a positive note,
Yes.
verse number 4 says, if you made a treaty with the polytheists or disbelievers and they did not break the treaty, so don't break the treaty. God loves the believers. So
Exactly.
that's a good thing. I'll give you a minute, Quran, Khalid, sorry, to give a remark about this, because we need to move to verse number 5 after.
Wait, Mohammed. I don't agree with you, because it does say everything that you just mentioned. However, it says, but only until the treaty ends. Not forever, only until the treaty ends. Like you are to follow the treaty until it's done, but it's not a peace forever. It's a ceasefire.
It does say فَأَتِمُّوا إِلَيْهِمْ عَهْدَهُم. So
that's how treaty works.
Finish the treaty with them.
That's a big however. I mean, I just wanted to point that out.
But no, I mean, Antoine is right. Antoine is right there. But you will see later on another verse which says, so as long as they are upright with you, you'll be upright with them. But a treaty can be renewed. It can be extended. Okay, this is just you have a treaty with them, then keep it until its end. But the point of this verse 4, is it shows clearly that the previous all these previous verses are not aimed at all mushrikeen. It doesn't say if. I mean, the translation. I mean, the way Muhammad put it says if. It doesn't say if. It says إِلَّا الَّذِينَ عَاهَدتُّم مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ ثُمَّ لَمْ يَنْقُصُوكُمْ شَيْئًا, except those of the mushrikeen, okay, who we made covenant with, and they did not yanqusukum, did not like break parts of the points of it, and they did not help others against you. What does that mean? That means that the mushrikeen mentioned before, the ones who from the beginning of the verse there's a bara'a against, what did they do? They did yanqus al-muslimin shay'an, they did break their agreements, and they did help others against them. They did help others against them, okay? Which is why this verse is saying that the exception from all of these mushrikeen who you made a treaty with, okay? So the Quraysh and its allies, okay, all of these mushrikeen, yes, they broke their treaties and they helped others against them, and you will see that in the and that's what comes up to the ayat al-jizya later. The northern
with the explicit note that helping others against them isn't part of the actual treaty.
Yeah, look, if you have a treaty between two countries, have a treaty, okay, not a peace treaty, non-aggression treaty, and one country helps another country to attack the other, that's breaking the treaty. That's what happened.
If the treaty has that in its
No, you don't need to have. You don't need to have. If you don't need to have. If you have a peace treaty with somebody, okay, a non-aggression treaty.
Yes.
Of course, any other supporting others to attack is breaking that treaty
Automatically, without needing to be said.
Without needing to be said. That's definitely part of any peace treaty. Yes.
That's a new kind of treaty. Wish the Russians would do that.
It's an ahd. So this is the ahd and aman. Okay. I mean, look. Let's read the verse again. As for those, or it says here, except those, really, illa alladhina, except those who honored the treaty you made with them and who have not supported anyone against you, fulfill your agreement with them to the end of their term. That means those who we are having the bara'a against, okay, those who are having the bara'a, what did they do? They did not fulfill their treaty, and they did support others against the Muslims.
Even in case where that support others against the Muslims is not explicitly part of the treaty.
If you want to say that, okay.
Well, I want to say that because it wasn't. And it's kind of important because if you do something that is not explicitly a part of the treaty, because that's the whole point of the treaty.
Well, first of all,
you come to a head, you have an agreement, you set the points of the agreement, you agree on the points, okay? And if Quraysh decides to divert the river after that, well, they are well within their rights to divert the river, right?
Okay, but first of all, where are you getting that it wasn't part of the treaty?
Because it wasn't part of the treaty.
No,
Quraysh was still free to do whatever Quraysh wanted to do.
No,
it was just not to prevent the Muslims from going to Mecca next year.
No, that's the Treaty of Hudaybiyah was already broken. This isn't about the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. The Treaty of Hudaybiyah was already broken. That's what led to the conquest of Mecca. That's gone.
What is the treaty you're talking about?
The treaty here is they're entering into Islam. They're accepting that
that's not a treaty. That's not a treaty. That's a capitulation.
For the Arabs, al-aman ahd, al-aman ahd. They were given security. Okay, this is
what? In return of what?
In return for nothing. They were given security. They were allowed to go to do whatever they want. The Prophet said,
No. They are allowed to go for 4 months because there is no fighting in the holy months.
No, this is now after they've broken that aman. They broke that aman. They broke that.
So why is he let them go for 4 months?
Because it has to do with the alliances which they had.
No, because it was rainy season and they don't fight the rainy season.
No, it had nothing to do with it. It was just the 4 months. They were given a respite of 4 months. Okay, from the moment that this announcement was made.
What's the reason for the 4 months? Because that's a
generosity. They were given 4 months. Okay, to think, to repent, to dismember this coalition, this subterfuge coalition that they made.
Let me tell you why.
Break their ties with the northern Arab tribes. Okay.
Yeah, let's give Mubarak the last word. Let's give Mubarak the last word on this verse, then move to number 5.
So
Go ahead.
we know that the adhan is when Muhammad sent in the Sunni hadith that he sent Abu Huraira with Ali to Abu Bakr and announced that there is no non-Muslim, polytheist. Anyone is not a Muslim should not be going to Mecca anymore and should not commit Hajj or do Hajj, and that there's like no one who's naked should be worshipped, which is one of the worship practice of the polytheist. Again, if you tell people that they cannot worship, that's a restriction of worship there.
And they 100% did that.
Yeah, and the 4 month is for people to finish their business in Mecca and go back. So from the Hajj, not not a lenient thing. It's more of let's disperse the people back to their places. Not more of than I will forgive you. I will give you 4 months of ideas for you to think, a time for you to think and think your ideas.
Why
Okay,
can't it
thank
be
you.
both? I mean,
I'm
some
sorry.
mentioned-
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
sorry.
Khaled. I'm sorry, Khaled. We really need to move on. So, Aaron, would you please read verse number 5?
Be happy to. When the 4 forbidden months are over, wherever you encounter the idolaters, kill them, seize them, besiege them, wait for them at every lookout post. But if they turn to God, maintain the prayer, and pay the prescribed alms, let them go on their way, for God is most forgiving and merciful.
So, the forbidden month, I'm just
Execute
gonna.
order 9-5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now this you're right. Here it's the Ashr al-Hurum.
Can you explain first the forbidden month?
Yeah, these
what
are
they
the
are?
4 forbidden months. What Mubarak mentioned before, the 4 months, which are the months of Hajj plus Rajab. Okay, where fighting is
So
prohibited.
they are 3 consecutive months: Dhul-Qa'dah,
Exactly.
Dhul-Hijjah, Muharram, and the Islamic calendar, and then Rajab, which is like
By
a
itself,
couple
yeah.
months. Yeah, a couple months.
Number
Yeah.
7.
Exactly. So fighting is not allowed there. Okay, in those 3 months as well. So you have those 4 forbidden months. So the Ashhur al-Hurum, the sacred months, and there's also the time which they overlap, right? Because the announcement was made during the day of Hajj. So 4 months from there, and then after that, in the sacred months, there's also not allowed to be any fighting.
And for the audience that doesn't know, these sacred months in the Islamic calendar are number 11, 12, and the 1st. And then there's another one. I think it's number 5.
Yeah, it's number 7 or 5.
Number
6 or Rajab. Which one is Rajab?
Rajab before
Sha'ban.
Sha'ban, before Ramadan. So 2 months before the
wait,
fasting.
7. That's 7.
7.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, and
So
by
again,
the way, it's not, it uses mushrikeen, so polytheists.
Yeah.
By
Yeah.
the way.
yeah, and of course, it's
I know
talking
you
about-
love to be that specific, but the Quran uses these terms very, very interchangeably.
No, I mean, what it's talking about, of course, is the mushrikeen, which have been talked about up to this point in the surah. Okay, so from the beginning, we have been talking. It's clearly been Quraysh. Okay, if you don't want to say it's Quraysh, then it's the mushrikeen who broke their covenants and supported others against them. Okay,
Does it
Because
distinguish
the
between the
exception-
ones
the
that are not
exception-
mushrikeen?
It doesn't matter
and
if they are
are
mushrikeen
Muslims?
or not. The issue is not mushrikeen or not. The issue is those who broke their treaties and helped others against the Muslims, and those who didn't. Okay, that's the distinction being made here. All right, those who did. Sorry, go ahead.
I see a contradiction here in verse 9:5, because forced conversion is a no-no in Islam. You're not supposed to. It was mentioned in a previous surah that you're not supposed to force conversion on someone.
Brilliant.
But now you are giving the green flag to do these things, and you're basically forcing them to convert if they don't die.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. So it doesn't say convert. It doesn't say fein aslamu if they become Muslim.
Tabu. Where do you tube from, dude?
From breaking the oaths and supporting others against the Muslims.
No. When
Yes.
you tube, you come back.
But it
to
also
Islam.
says that they pray and they give the alms, so it
Yeah.
has to be that they're now Muslims.
They are now
No,
Muslims.
they will look.
Like if they do all of these things, they become Muslims outwardly, and when they do the Tawbah, they actually become Muslims officially.
No, no.
But
look,
if
there's-
they turn to God, meaning
Yeah.
they turn to Muhammad's version of God, and they maintain the prayer, which means they practice Islam, and they pay the prescribed alms, which means they're now funding the cult. So yeah, they're Muslim. If they
Yeah,
become Muslim, we will let them live.
no, no, no.
Yeah.
It's saying,
It's pretty explicit.
no, it's not
Look,
explicit.
if
It's
you
Yes,
saying-
wanted,
okay, so
if you wanted
if you
to
don't
put it more
practice Islam.
explicitly, you couldn't.
No, look,
Literally, there
if
is
you
no
don't pay the-
language that's more.
If you don't pay the prescribed alms, so you don't support the cult, you don't practice the prayers that the behavior that practicing Islam requires, and you don't turn to Islam, meaning you don't turn to Muhammad's interpretation of God, then you're not Muslim. And in which case they will kill you, besiege you, wait for you at every lookout point to destroy you. Yes, that's it. Turn to Islam or die. Pretty
look,
clear.
Look. Okay, let's just turn it back a little bit, right? So there's Muslimin and then there's Mu'minin, right? The Quraysh, they outwardly became Muslim. They became Muslim. We have another verse.
The Quran never calls
قال-
the Muslims Muslims, so it doesn't matter the difference.
No, but it says when some would say we have believed, قالت العرب آمنا, we have believed, we have faith. Muhammad was told to say, no, you have not believed, but say we have submitted. Okay, we are Muslim. Okay, أسلمنا, وقولوا أسلمنا. Okay.
Okay.
But to take that point, which you just said, exactly true. The Quran always talks about people becoming Muslim. فإن أسلموا, if they become Muslim.
I
It's not
have a
saying
thing.
that. It's saying if they repent. Okay,
Yeah.
repent from what? From their actions.
Repent from not being Muslim.
No, not repent from not being Muslim.
When the Quran says Aslamu, it means that they're obeying. It doesn't mean that they're actually believers. So it's a different thing.
Well, they have to turn to God,
One thing
and
here,
they have to maintain the prayers.
Yeah.
one thing here, Khalid. You
And
said
the polytheists didn't pray.
one moment. It says you're talking
Go
about
tell the polytheists they didn't pray when you had to break their idols and prevent them from entering the Kaaba, and then you tell them, well, they don't pray. Well, they couldn't pray because you freaking prevented them from.
Here's the thing, Khalid, you're talking about them being Muslims, but the ayah itself referred to them as mushrikeen.
Yeah.
So how could you revert back to Islam, or how could they too, and they are Muslims, but they are still polytheists?
Well, good. Okay, good question. Because look, okay, Quraysh entered Islam outwardly, right? When Muhammad conquered Mecca.
But yet
No,
in the beginning
they
of this
were
episode, you
forced
said no.
to
In the
it.
beginning of
Okay.
the episode, remember, in the beginning of the episode, you said they did not convert to Islam.
No, they did outwardly convert to Islam. I didn't say they
But
didn't.
you said they didn't.
No. Sorry.
Yes,
Why
you
would
would-
they-
that
they
is-
would
That was what we
repeat
were
if they
arguing.
did.
What
That's
at a
what we were
time,
arguing.
guys?
No, look, I said they did become outwardly Muslim, but they are
You
still
didn't say that.
mushrikeen.
You said there were remaining polytheists
Yeah,
in Mecca.
okay, I get what you're saying now. Yes,
You didn't
you're
say
right.
they
There
become
are-
Muslims. I was
No,
saying
you're
they
right.
become Muslims.
No, yeah, you're right. There are some, of course. I'm saying that not everybody became Muslim, right? Not
Okay.
everybody-
Died.
When the Prophet conquered Mecca, not everybody became Muslim. You had, like, for example, Safwan and Ikram ibn Abi Jahl and a few others, right? They didn't become Muslim. They were mu'allafat qulubuhum later on when the Prophet gave them like wealth to try to entice them to become Muslim. They were still mushrikeen.
They ended up becoming Sahaba, didn't they?
Later, yes, but what I'm saying,
Yes.
the
So they
conquest of Mecca,
converted later. But
exactly.
in
they
the
converted
beginning,
later.
they tried to flee because they are the one that broke the treaty. I agree with you. I totally agree with you. They didn't convert immediately. Those handful of people, they
Yeah.
tried to flee. People brought them back, and then there's another handful of people that were killed on site. But like Muhammad said, kill them on site. Don't even bring them. And
Yeah.
one of them, Uthman brought, and he was angry. Muhammad was angry with him.
Yeah.
You,
Yeah,
you
he's
know
the
the
one who
story.
created a lot of trouble. Yeah, I know, I
Yes.
know.
ما كان
Abdullah bin Mas'ud, yes.
ما كان
Abdullah
لرسول
bin
أن
Sa'd bin
تكون
Mas'ud,
له
yes.
خانة العين. One of the
Yes.
reciters, early reciters.
Yes.
Yeah,
the
there are a
Quran.
number who were to be killed. Yeah.
So we're talking about a city, and we're talking about a number of people, few handful of people that did not convert. That we have the story about. We don't have anything else. And
Yeah.
then you said that they were still polytheists in Mecca, and the general population of Mecca still polytheists, did not convert to Islam.
Very
Okay.
good. Okay.
I told you that they converted to Islam according to the tradition. You argued that they still is.
No, yes.
But then
Okay.
in this verse, you said they have to revert back to Islam, or they have to
they have to repent.
Repent. Sorry,
Yeah.
repent and become and give their prayers and pray and give the alms.
Exactly.
But earlier in the same verse, they were talking about mushrikeen. So either the Quran have an contradiction with itself. It's
I see
talking
what
about
you're saying.
mushrikeen and talking about them repenting, or the mushrikeen is being forced to convert to Islam.
Yeah, very good. Okay, look, that's a brilliant thing. Okay, because it goes into the distinction between those who became believers and those who became Muslims, right? So when the Quran talks about mushrikeen, even sometimes it refers to Muslims as mushrikeen. Okay, to Muslims as mushrikeen, because what you don't have is believers referred to as mushrikeen. So, for example, at the end of Surah Yasin, it says about, because Surah Yasin was among the last surahs revealed in Mecca before the Prophet did his hijrah. They said, لَقَدْ حَقَّ الْقَوْلُ عَلَى أَكْثَرِهِمْ فَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Most of them will never have faith, and they didn't. Okay, when Muhammad took over Mecca, okay, they entered Islam as many of the Sahaba said, إِنَّ الْقَوْمَ لَمْ يُسْلِمُوا بَلْ اسْتَسْلَمُوا. They didn't become Muslim; they just submitted. Okay, like they think, but they were never believers. They never became believers. The majority of the people in Mecca, the majority of Quraysh, never became believers, and this is why the Quran here speaks about them as mushrikeen. Okay, because once they broke their treaties and they acted against the Muslims, the Quran is talking about their reality. Okay, they are mushrikeen. Okay, even though they have the outward name of being Muslim.
Okay, so now you are talking about policing beliefs. So the moment, because this is in the Sharia, in the Islamic law, this part act, because the moment you break, you don't fast, or you don't give the alms, or you don't pray, you considered a non-Muslim. You have to revert.
Yeah, that's what they say. I don't accept that at all.
They say the tradition, and I know you are non-traditional, but the thing is, about this. Now the Quran is regulating not just the action of the people; it's regulating beyond the action, because in the Quran you have the distinction between the Muslim, the mu'min, and then you have the munafiq, who is openly Muslim.
Yeah.
So there is layers of cake, but at the end of it, the order for people, what they do when they see someone who doesn't pray, someone who doesn't
fast, for example,
who doesn't stand for the 5 pillars of Islam, whoever break them. Okay, we're not talking about iman, because when we talk about iman, you're talking about heart. So when you talk about belief, you don't know. But the action of Islam, the 5 pillars of Islam, if anyone break them, now they fell into the non-believer section, which we know from this verse. If you are a non-believer, that acting against Islam, whatever that means, because it could mean having treaties with other, or even just talking against Islam, that they will be killed, conquered, blah blah blah, the whole 5 yards.
So Khalid, before you reply to Mubarak, I actually have a point here to say. So there's 2 points actually I have. First one is, see, the whole thing we're arguing about, if would have been not controversial if God said, so kill the polytheist who broke the treaty, instead of kill the polytheists, right?
Yeah, unless they turn to God, unless they pay the alms, unless they practice Islam, unless they become Muslim.
No, okay, let's look at it. Okay, you're saying it'll be.
Khalid.
I understand what you're saying.
The
Mohammed.
other point, yeah. I'll give you the space to answer, but I also have another point speaking to what Mubarak said, and then you can answer us together. So there's something very important here. When we go further in the surah, you will notice them talking about people who, in Arabic, متقاعسين عن jihad, which means people who don't want to go for jihad, right? So these people, or the people who ask the Prophet not to go to, or the hypocrites, or whatever, doesn't that not show you that a lot of them were first converted into Islam? Because the phenomena of hypocrites, not gonna say it's unique to Islam, but it's very, very, very prevalent in Islam. And it shows you if there are people who tell you we are believers and they aren't, that shows you there's no freedom and choice in religion there. They were compulsory converts.
Yeah, I mean, can we come back to the fight? You know, those who would not fight, or can we come back to when we get to those?
Yeah,
verses?
we'll get there.
They are very important. They show this was the beginning of the ascension of Quraysh, right? Because the Muslims refused, right? That's why he had all those verses saying, "Go fight, go fight. Why won't you fight? Why won't you fight?" The Muslims refused. Okay, the Muslims refused. But to get back to what you're saying, look, you're saying that this is not clear. This all of this argument. No, it is. It's just you keep on focusing on only one thing and not looking at the whole thing, right? So it says, except those who you made a treaty with from the. You're saying, why doesn't God say except those who kept their treaties? It does say that.
Where does it say that?
The previous verse, إلا الذين عاهدتم من المشركين ثم لم ينقصوكم شيئا ولم يظاهروا عليكم أحدا فأتموا إليهم أحدهم إلى مدتهم. Then it says فإذا انسلخ الأشهر الحرم. So then, meaning what? So then, it's continuing from the same thing. Okay. فإذا انسلخ الأشهر الحرم فاقتلوا المشركين. Which mushrikeen kill? The ones who did break their treaties, who did support others against them. Okay, then when it says let me just mention, because you keep on saying that this is talking about them become Muslim. No, it's not policing their beliefs. Okay, it's if in tabu, if they repent from what they did and they establish Salah, because outwardly they were Muslim, outwardly they were saying they were Muslim. So they should. So we want to know. We want to know if they've repented from supporting others against us and from breaking their oaths. How will we know? They repent. Okay, that's between them and God. And we see them establishing prayer and giving zakah. And if they do that, then you leave them, because they're showing themselves to be part of the Muslims, which they already were. They were
already Muslim. They just didn't know they were Muslim.
No, they were Muslim, but they had no faith. Right? They were mushrikeen.
Okay, so is that like when the presuppositionalists tell me that I already know that they're right?
No. Because look, let's remove the idea that they are mushrikeen anyway. If you put that out of the way, okay, it's still saying repent.
You cannot remove the one word that was repeated throughout the whole verses, and you ignore
one word from the beginning of the verse. Is clear who it's talking about. It's talking about those who broke their covenants.
Except that it's clear that it's not
exactly
just talking about them. It says, when the 4 forbidden months are over, wherever you encounter the idolaters, kill them. Not the idolaters who broke the treaty, just the idolaters. And the next verse confirms that, and several more verses down through the surah confirm that again. Did you read my interpretation of this surah?
Look, that's just a very low ability. I'm sorry.
Okay, is that a yes or is that a no? Did you read my interpretation of this?
Sorry, I didn't get time. You know, it's been Ramadan and stuff.
I thought
I promise.
Because I pointed out. I pointed out in there where it repeatedly says that same thing: convert or die, over and over again, different ways.
When it says the mushrikeen, definite article, it's talking about the ones which are referenced throughout the surah from the beginning.
Khalid, if it was, sorry for cutting you off, Khalid, if it was clear, we wouldn't have jihadists now.
No,
right?
We have jihadists exactly because Muslims did not fight these people who they were supposed to fight. Okay. This is why. Okay.
So why do you have Khalid? And I'm sorry for cutting you off and getting into something else. I'm not gonna argue so much, but I think I conveyed my point. I want you to Sorry, keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
I
that
have-
question
I
of
have
why
a
do we
point
have jihadists right now?
Yeah.
Okay, we have jihadists because the jihadists don't look at this in the simple. It says إلا الذين عاهدتم من المشركين.
Then
Okay?
it's not a clear Khalid, because
No,
God could have prevented all this if he said those who are polytheists who broke the treaty. All he had to do is add 2 words, and that's it.
And
It's
if they
there in
if
the-
they
it's there
added
in the
those 2
verse.
words,
It's there
if,
in the previous verse.
but,
Does it?
but it's
You have
not.
to like.
But it's
you
really
have-
really not.
No, it
So-
says there in the previous verse. It says, "Except those who have honored your treaty and did not support others against you, fulfill for them the agreements until the end." Where
Until
can you put into that? Yeah, where
And
can you
then
put
when those
in-
4 months are over, very next
No,
line,
is
now
the
you
treaty, is
kill
the
them.
treaty those 4 months?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
give
the
them
four-
those 4 months. You
No.
accept them for
Yeah.
those 4 months.
No,
You let them
no.
go about their day. You honor the ones that fulfill, and then after the 4 months, wherever you
The 4
find
months-
the idolaters,
No, the
period,
4 months-
any idolaters,
No,
after that
no.
point you kill them. See if it said the idolaters who broke the treaty, then what would modern people be saying? Well, okay, now we're talking about somebody that
It
existed
could-
1400 years ago, and nothing applies anymore. We're only talking about somebody who broke a treaty 1400 years ago, no relevance to today. But there is relevance to today because the Quran is not clear in the sense that you want it to be. It very explicitly says, kill the infidel. All of them.
Exactly.
Look,
Exactly.
look,
If
look.
Allah wanted
Read-
to be specific about the infidel that did break the treaty, he would have said, for example, "Faqtulu ha'ula al-mushrikeen." But he
No, no.
didn't.
No, look.
He used the
You're-
generic
you're-
term of
You're
mushrikeen
putting this
for all
hard
the
line.
places in all the times because that's the line everybody else is taking.
No, you're putting this hard artificial line between verse 4 and verse 5, which is not there.
And,
Wait,
and in verse
I-
6 and
I-
continues on in several other verses.
We'll come to
too.
verse 6 in a
before
minute.
before you put the line, the treaty ends after 4 months.
No, who's
Yes.
the 4 months is not a treaty. What are you?
What,
what
the
are you-
4 month, they said, okay, you could go do whatever you want for 4 months. Think about it, whatever how
No,
you want
that's
to
not a
interpret
treaty.
it.
That's
That,
4
that
months
is that
end.
is a treaty by definition.
Yes. When the 4 months end, that's why I told you that's the traditional interpretation. Again,
okay. Let me
Khalid,
ask you
your
this.
yeah.
Okay, fine. Let's say
Okay.
those 4 months are treaty. Okay. 'Cause
Okay.
in essence, okay, it's an aman, it's an ahd.
Yes.
Okay? Who is those 4 months given to?
To the mushrikeen.
All the mushrikeen?
No, the one who are not around the Masjid al-Haram, because in
No,
seven,
no, no. That's we're going to come to that. Okay. Who
Yeah.
who is mentioned for these 4 months? Who gets these?
The idolaters.
براءة من الله ورسوله إلا الذين عاهدتم من المشركين. Okay.
Yes.
Those who are they? We said Quraysh. Okay, and we will see time and time again. It is Quraysh.
Yeah, as
Okay.
for those who have honored the treaty you made with them and who have not supported anyone against
Exactly.
you,
Not
fulfill your
Quraysh.
agreement with them to the end of their term.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
these are not.
And then
Quraysh.
at the very next line, but when that term is over, kill them.
exactly.
Yeah, that's
term
no, no.
for 4 months, and then that's it.
Okay, shall we read it? Okay, it says when the four forbidden months are over. Okay,
Wherever you
Yeah,
encounter
wherever-
the idolaters, any
Yeah, and-
idolaters, all
look at
idolaters, kill them.
there's a reason
You
why it's
find
saying
them in
wherever you,
Timbuktu, also kill them.
the reason why it's saying wherever you find them. Okay, one of the reasons why that phrase is there is because it includes even fighting them in the mosque. Okay, in the sacred mosque, because they broke their treaties. So the fighting over there is allowed.
And
that's why
at
that's there.
every
But-
lookout post.
Yeah. Okay. But
So you're
that part-
hunting them.
Yeah.
Yeah. They should exactly
Besiege
look.
them, seize them, kill them, all of them. Every hunt, every lookout post, everywhere. And it continues to reaffirm that one very clear message. Convert
Yeah,
to Islam
it is.
or die.
No, it's not convert to Islam. It is
Yes, it
against
is.
the mushrikeen.
Over and
It's
over again.
It's against the polytheists of Mecca. It's saying that. Okay?
Okay.
The Quran has said, the Quran has said previous to this, in all its surahs leading up to this, There is the conflict again. Every surah says that the unbeliever is going to roast in hell. And sometimes it says you don't have to kill them, let them go about their way. But then we come to this part where it's abrogated, where, yeah, you are going to kill them after all. We've initiated Executive Order 66, kill them all. That's where we're at now.
No,
So-
there is no abrogation. Okay, and again, it's talking about a
That's
bara'a.
your own opinion, Khalid. That's
No, look. Okay, yes, you can say it's my own opinion. That's fine. Okay, I don't mind you saying it's my own opinion. Okay,
your
but-
own opinion stands against the tradition of Islam. I'm just saying it for the audience here.
Yeah,
okay,
you're not
that's
against
so what?
us.
I
You're
mean,
against
I mean,
Muslims.
most traditional religions, they get clamped down in their history. Okay, that's just the way it is. No matter how much you try to convince, for example, with all respect to Christians, that the Trinity is not in the Bible, it won't happen. Okay,
Khalid,
but
let me ask you something.
yeah,
Let's say that this verse says, because it doesn't, but let's pretend for a minute that it says, it doesn't say wherever you find them. It would say, gather those who broke the treaty and kill those who have transgressed against you, which doesn't say that, but let's pretend it says that. Why does the God of mercy require this bloodshed? I mean, he's supposed to be omnipotent, he's supposed to be all merciful. Why do you need to kill them? Even if we're talking about only those who transgress against you, why do you have to pay with such bloodshed?
what I mean, why you're talking about? Why should you have to pay in warshed of bloodshed?
Yes, why
Warfare?
can't God devise something better, something more positive, something more peaceful, even if it's talking only about the ones who have broken the treaty, which doesn't say in this verse, it doesn't. We're pretending that it would say that.
You don't have to pretend, because the previous verse, which is directly follows on to this, says that. You don't have to pretend. You're pretending like it doesn't say that. It says,
So to
إِلَّا الَّذِينَ عَهَدتُّمْ, except those of the mushrikeen who you made a treaty with and did not.
Does
Um,
the Quran apply
Until
to
the end
all
of their term. And
Yeah.
then, after that time, wherever you find any and all idolaters, kill
No.
them.
No.
All right,
Okay, let me ask you
change
this. Okay,
Straight
let me
from
ask-
the
okay,
beginning, it says that God is
Look, let me put
is
this
innocent
question
from all the from the disbelievers who you had a treaty with.
to you. Yeah.
If except for those that still respected the treaty, then pay with them until the
Let
end
me
of
ask you
their
a question.
term.
No, sorry, I just want to interrupt. Sorry, I'm really sorry. I just want to put this, okay? Because you're saying that, but okay, the people who made the treaty with Quraysh, right? When Quraysh made the treaty, others entered into the pact with them, okay? The treaty was for 10 years. Quraysh broke their treaty, okay? Then there are those who did not break their treaty. That's 10 years from there, okay? 10 years. That is what it's talking about when it says, except those who you made a treaty with and they did not support others against you and did not break their treaty, complete their treaty for that time, whatever that time was, whatever the treaty was it 10 years, 7 years, 5 years, complete it until the end. Okay, it's not saying
Okay.
after 4 months go and kill every single
Well,
mushrikeen. That's
The,
absurd.
the term.
You
Yeah.
changed the treaty we're talking about.
What are you talking about?
We're talking about Hudaybiyah, the 10 years.
Yeah, okay, no, exactly. When
said-
Hudaybiyah was made.
You said that we are not
Yes.
talking about Hudaybiyah.
No, look, slow down. Quraysh broke the treaty of Hudaybiyah, right?
Okay, that treaty is gone.
Yeah, no, Quraysh
Okay.
broke their treaty of Hudaybiyah. At Hudaybiyah, it wasn't just Quraysh. It wasn't
The-
just Quraysh.
The
Banu Damra,
policies
Banu Juzam.
going
There were others around. Okay,
Yes.
there were others around who entered into the treaty. Okay?
Yes.
Quraysh broke the treaty of Hudaybiyah. There were
Yeah.
others who entered with Quraysh, right or wrong?
And you're saying that treaties stand for them, but not for the main guy.
Well, of course. I mean, if you make a treaty with multiple people, okay, one group breaks it. Does that mean that the others have broken it?
Yeah, you have two alliances, and one side of the alliance break the treaty, the whole side breaks the treaty, even though that they talk about the people who are not breaking the treaty in the Quran here, because you keep shifting which
Let me-
treaty are talking about.
Okay, let me ask
Khalid,
you, who
Khalid, before
didn't break
before
the treaty?
Khalid, I'll give you 2 minutes to give you a final comment on this first. I'm sorry, Mubarak and the rest. We generally need to move on. So Khalid, you have the last word. I think everyone clarified their position on it. So go ahead, Khalid.
Yeah, I mean, let me a basic question. Tell me who did not, in that verse which says, except those who did not break their treaty and did not help any others against you, all of that. Who is it talking about? Who is it
Nobody.
talking about?
About
Practically nobody.
Nobody. Yeah, right. Okay. No, it's talking about there were actual Arab tribes. The Arabian Peninsula did not just have Muhammad and Quraysh. Okay, there were other tribes that Muhammad made peace treaties with.
I understand that.
Hmm.
You said earlier today that Hudaybiyah haven't been expelled. We're not talking about that treaty. We're talking about another treaty. And
Yeah.
you said the treaty we are talking about is when Muhammad conquered Mecca.
Yeah. Yeah, I should have said I was referencing about Quraysh, right? So I should have said, okay, when talking about Quraysh, we're not talking about the Treaty of Hudaybiyah anymore. They broke that. That's true. Yes.
Okay, that's
Quraysh,
that's a good place to end that, guys. Again, I'm sorry, but otherwise we would stay here all day. We're still at verse number 5, and we passed the hour. So before we move on, I just want to say to the people in the chat, we're sorry. We're not really reading or paying a lot of attention to the chat, but we'll get to it. So keep sending your questions.
So look at verse 6
and
now,
there's before you go on, Aaron, I think there's a super sticker.
There is. I'm looking for it now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I missed that. There was just no way to jump in the middle. And okay, so the super sticker from Ms. Templeton for $10. Thank you very much for that.
All right. So do you want to go? Do you want to read verse number 6, Aaron?
Yes. So the very next verse, if any of the idolaters should seek your protection, grant it to him so he may hear the word of God. Then take him to a place safe for him, for they are people with no knowledge of it. So spreading the cult at the point of the sword is so important that the only survivable surrender is submission to Islam. Going along with the thing about you will convert or you will be killed.
Okay, so it says, if one of the mushrikeen, again, the mushrikeen, right, definite article, we're talking about the same mushrikeen from the beginning of Bara'ah, okay, we're talking about Quraysh. If
well, my translation says any of the idolaters, so I don't know in the original Arabic if everyone else who speaks
it doesn't
Arabic
specify.
It doesn't say when ahadun mushrik istijaraka. It doesn't say if any mushrik does. It says any of the. It's even in the translation here, right? I can see it. The idolaters. Okay.
Right, which means if an individual mushrik came to you for protection, you can protect them.
Yeah. So,
but the only
reason
entire
tribe of Quraysh broke the treaty, and you are to kill them wherever you find them. If one Qurayshi guy just went to Muhammad and say, "Hey, Muhammad, please protect me," you can protect it.
But only for the reason of letting that person hear the Quran.
Okay,
so they have to study the Quran. They have to, in other words, convert or die.
No, it doesn't say convert or die. Just feeding things into it. Okay,
it does. It says it in a different way than the previous verse did, than the previous verses to that, than the previous surahs have. But so it does say that, and it's going to continue to repeat that same message down through.
No, it's not a one thing.
Okay, well, we're about to see that it is going to do that.
Okay, but it's again, they're saying this is just saying the same thing as before, just worded differently. No, it's not worded differently.
So you can
it's saying something. It's saying something a bit more pertinent. Let me just mention about this. So, of course, we should.
You can brainwash them.
Hold on, Bogey. Let him rant here.
So of course Quraysh, they did break the treaty, but of course, it's in the end, it's the leaders of the people who move the tribes. Okay, they're the ones who decide what's happening. Individual people among Quraysh, the average person, okay, who has been subjugated to all of the propaganda against Muhammad and against the prophets and against Islam, and that's how it's been. Okay, so if any of that's why I said in the end, they don't know. Okay. So it says so it's basically, and if any of the people that we're talking about here, the people of Mecca, if any of them seek your protection, seek to be given safety, then give him safety. Anybody, it doesn't matter who it is, okay?
Yeah,
Until
as long
they
as the
hear,
reason that they're doing it is so they can study the Quran. Because we are not going to
until
respect
not
people
just,
who have other beliefs. We're not going to allow people to have other beliefs. Kill them unless they want to convert.
no. So it says until they hear the speech of God, and then take them to their place of safety. What do you mean take them to their place of safety and then kill them? Why not? Okay, if they don't convert there, kill them there. No,
Well,
it's
you're
talking about
you're talking about people of Mecca, which is conquered by Muhammad
yeah.
and controlled by the Muslims, but take them to a place of safety. It seems like you are talking about someone else, not the Mushrikeen of Mecca, unless you
No. It's,
unless you mean exile home from the hometown, because now you're talking about taking people of Mecca who does not agree with Muhammad, ask them, okay, I don't agree with you, Muhammad, so even though that I live, this is my town and this is my city, but now you are exiling me out of my town even after I hear you.
okay, I get what you're saying. So remember, when was this verse revealed? Okay, the announcement was made in Mecca, but the Prophet at the time was in Medina. So if
Yes.
somebody comes to the Prophet seeking safety, okay, so they go to the Prophet wherever he is, no matter where he is, okay, no matter where he is, then give him safety and then take him to his place of safety. It can be back to Mecca, it can be to another place, wherever he wants to go.
So
How
what is
how is it the safe place if you are against Muhammad and his people, yet you just ask for like you don't believe. Now you deny his messenger, you deny his message. That's
Yeah.
an aggression act in Islam. So
No,
if
it's not.
you, yes it is. If you deny Muhammad, and what is the safety to in Mecca, because Muhammad and his people control Mecca.
It doesn't have to be, first of all, it doesn't have to be Mecca. It says "Ablighum ma'mana," wherever he would be safe. Okay, so it doesn't have to be Mecca, wherever he wants to go. Okay,
So
yeah, that's what it says. "Ablighum ma'mana," صح? Okay,
exile
so
exile from his hometown.
no, it doesn't have to be exile from. Why even? Okay, put him.
Talking
It
about them.
says, look, if it says to send him to his place of safety, it means send him to his place of safety, wherever he
Where
wants
is
to.
the place of safety?
Well, he would know better. Okay, it's you're
Okay,
gonna give me,
because Mecca is not a place of safety now because Muhammad controlled Mecca. Is that correct?
no, but who says it's not a place of safety?
The
what,
Arab
listen, why are they seeking safety? What's going on?
Because
Because
Why-
these are the people. These look. So the people, the Quraysh, have broken the treaty. It should
because
be war
they're
against
getting
them now.
slaughtered. They're
Yeah,
getting
yeah, it
slaughtered
should,
left and right. That's
precisely. It
why
should
they
be.
are. There's going to be people who are desperate. They're going to be looking for safety. It's not.
Yeah,
It's not raining meteors. It's raining swords.
yeah. It
So
should be. They're going to be. It's war. It's going to be after those 4 months. It's going to be back to war with Quraysh, right? Back to war with the Meccans. Okay. Now, if one of the Meccans were to come to Muhammad and say, "I want safety. I don't want to be part of this. I didn't know the subterfuge that was being done by my tribe. I didn't know the Abu Sufyan's alliances with Hirkal or with the Ghassanids. I
You
didn't
must
know.
have
I didn't
heard it
know.
in the radio, though.
Okay, well, that aside. Okay, I didn't know.
Let him
Okay?
finish.
They come to Muhammad wherever he is, asking for safety. Okay, the Prophet is supposed to let them hear the words of God. Yes, man. Doesn't mean you have to convert. Doesn't mean you have to study.
Yep,
Just hear the
but
word.
it does
Hear,
actually mean exactly that. You
it
have to hear
means
the words of God. That's the only reason that you can do this.
no.
That
It means
he
not
can
hear.
keep these people safe if the reason is that they want to hear the word of God. That's
No,
what is not even the word of God. What Muhammad pretends is the word of God.
no. It
This
doesn't
is
say.
the
It says
same thing when
let
they package the
ajirhu, give them
Bibles with the
safety
aid
until they hear the
packages
word
and
of
send
God,
them over
and
to
then
other
send them to their place of safety. Reason why is because these were people who did not know. They didn't know anything about it. Okay, they did not. They were receiving the propaganda against Muhammad and stuff. Okay, so they
But
are being. They're having what they know corrected.
Okay,
That's
so
all.
we got another super chat from Robert Lawrence for $10. Thank you very much for that. It's a fascinating thing having an apologist on the panel because we were making all this progress before, and then we have like every verse we have somebody saying, yeah, that's what it says, that's what it says, that's what it says, and the one guy says, but it's not what it means, or it doesn't really say that.
No,
Yeah,
I'm not
Khalid,
saying.
I only
I'm
have
not-
like I just want to say this thing. I try not to intervene because we are already short on time. But just hear this. When I hear you say this, I can't help myself but think the following. At least, like in best case scenario, even if I grant you that what you say might be understood that way, at best, it's only one of the possible meanings. That means 100% God did not know how to convey his message. Listen, we are a reasonable people. We are not looking at this and we're trying like just to argue. We're reading at it and that's what we find of it. And believe me, there's a lot of people that they read it and that's what they understand from it. So
there's a lot of reasonable people who would not view it the way you do. And of course, look. I mean, here I'm the Muslim here, right? Everybody
Khalid,
else here is the atheist and the
even if
ex-Muslim.
there is
So I mean, it's obvious.
I'm
that's
sorry
gonna
I'm
be
sorry
everybody
to cut
one
you
way.
off, Khalid,
Yeah.
but this is the crux of the whole argument. If there was, I'm not arguing there are not reasonable people who read it and reach this same conclusion you have, but I'm saying the reason that when you have people like us just read it as what it is, we come to this conclusion. It just means I'm not even arguing that our conclusion is correct. I'm saying at best we are equal, and our conclusion and yours is possible. So that means it's not the right way. God, listen, if God wanted to convey this message in an easy way, he would have said it in an easy, clear terms. We told you, if God said, kill all these believers who broke the treaty, like we spent an hour discussing this, there would be no reasonable person who would read it and reach another conclusion. But because he omitted these two words, this became a possible conclusion. Even if you disagree with us on what we say, you have to concede that what we are saying is a possible interpretation. And I'm sorry for cutting you.
Okay.
I'll give Aaron the last word, so we need, and then we'll.
Even if God in his absent-mindedness forgot to put in those two words there, we've got all of these other verses in which he could have clarified, but never did, and instead continuously reinforces convert or die, says it different ways, and we're going to see that if we ever get through that. There's obviously going to be next week before we get I think to even we'll get probably to verse 7, but it doesn't look like we're going to make much progress after that.
Yeah, look, don't worry. After verse 29, I will be more quiet for you.
I don't believe you.
I mean, I appreciate the argument, but it's just I have the same problem with Christians. I mean, I was in an argument with a Christian a couple weeks back where I'm trying to show I show a verse from the Bible that says this thing, and she says it doesn't say that. I'm like, well, that's not what it means. I'm like, yeah, it does. And here, look at this other verse over here that talks about the same thing, that also says the same thing. Well, no, it doesn't say that. Well, what does it say then? And they can't. They can read the words, but not accept that there's only one possible meaning here. And that's what I face with you.
Yeah, I mean, I exactly so what Muhammad was saying. We have to accept that two readings are at least equal. No, I don't accept that. So I'm more like with you, Aaron. I think no, one is definitely wrong. But look, let's, like you said, let's move on. I think verse 7. If we get to verse 7 again, it will show what we're talking about. Does anybody want to go to that?
I actually have a note on verse 7.
Before we go to verse 7, I have to say that we're trying to present the traditional Islamic, and we're not just talking about like just the majority people believe it. We're talking about people who have spent their life studying the Quran, imams after imams after imams, believing in this surahs and this ayah, saying that this is not limited to the people in Mecca. So it's not just a thing of limitation of people. Like, so
Yeah,
when
agreed,
you
agreed.
is the minority idea, and it's not just the minority; it's the minority of the minority, because like, to limit the place and time of this ayahs to one group of people, that, and to be honest with you, the people who broke the idea, you're talking about Abu Sufyan and talking about those people, why didn't the Quran name them? Why didn't the Quran explain to Muhammad, okay, this person who did this should be done this? Not just talking about general ideas.
You
If
know,
the
like
Quran
tabbat
was
yada abi lahabin wa tab.
exactly, if it was specific, we wouldn't have this argument about, we are talking about the mushrikeen, with the non-believers, or the polytheist, is the alif lam, the ta'lim, is it talking about the group, the entire group of polytheists, or talking about the specific group, the people who are in Mecca?
Hmm.
So
Well, I mean, at least you get that distinction. I mean, it doesn't come
yeah,
clear in the English. The alif lam can be a ta'rif, the in Arabic, it can
yeah,
be talking about somebody specific. I mean, it doesn't translate very well in English,
but
so then it
yeah.
seems like just the idolatries means all idolatries. But alhamdulillah,
But in the Quran
I
itself says
understand what you're saying.
Al-Yahudi wal Nasara.
Yeah.
In the Quran itself says Al-Yahudi wal Nasara, the Jews and Christian, using the same alif lam ta'rif, to talk about a general group, not specific people. So
Oh,
it's
We'll come,
Let me
you
ask you a
we'll come
question.
know
to
what?
that. But you're right. You're right in terms of
Yes.
that's
Okay.
part of the Quran. I mean, that's meta. If we want to talk about that, it would take us away. But that's one of the meta things in the Quran. It doesn't bring names. It doesn't bring places. It doesn't bring
Yes.
tribes. It
So
doesn't talk about any of these things. You're right.
But
yeah.
what it
So
does do is it constantly talks about how clear it is.
yeah. So when it talks about the non-believers, the polytheists, the mushrikeen, which is polytheist is an okay translation, but it's like who have other beliefs with God. If you translate it in Arabic, there is no exact word for it, but polytheist is okay here. If we're talking about why didn't the Quran specify those groups? You say it did. According to you, it did because it talks about another group, an opposite, specifying by the opposite. But at the same time, it's not clear because we're talking about people who he's talking about mushrikun who have to commit to tawbah, and then the mushrikun who have breaking the ahd, who breaking the treaty, and then people, like, it's not clear.
Yeah, I understand
You-
what you're saying. It's
okay.
the clarity we're talking about here is in exactly what is needed. Okay, what is needed is to know that they broke the treaty, that they helped others against you. Okay, that's what's needed. That's the crux of it. Who the
And
actual
why instead does it say the idolaters, the unbelievers, and that the only reason you can keep them alive is if they want to study the Quran. The only reason you can spare their life is if they turn to God and practice the prayers and pay the alms. They have to do all of these things. They have to,
Yeah.
and do this and that, not do this or that. It has to do. They have to do all of it. They have to become Muslim. They have to convert or die. That's the clear message.
Okay, look, shall we go to the next verse, verse 7, because I think it shows up
Okay.
what I'm saying even
Yeah.
more.
Okay. How could there be a treaty with God and his messenger for such idolaters? But as for those with whom you made a treaty at the sacred mosque, so long as they remain true to you, be true to them. God loves those who are mindful of him. So long
Okay,
as they are true to you, be true to them.
yeah, so again, look what's he saying
Just
here.
a second. I have
I
a
mean,
note on this. I have a note on this,
yes,
please.
go ahead, Bogey, who has been.
Thank you very much. I
Mashallah.
appreciate it. Okay. So 9.7 is also abrogated by 9.5. I know you cannot dismiss the abrogation as it is, but if that is true, then Muslims can be running around drinking beer with us. And they don't.
Well, this thing I want to point out here is that it begins by saying that God cannot have a treaty with idolaters, right?
Exactly.
And then makes specific that there are specific exceptions. You are allowed to be honorable to the person who is honorable to you. Those special exceptions, they'll allow that, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that's still going back. That's just going back to what verse 4 already said.
Yeah. I would take you back to
Okay, yeah, exactly.
9:1.
So if it's going
I
back
would
to what
like,
verse
excuse
4.
me, I'm still done with
Sorry,
my point.
sorry.
I have one point here. It's going to take me 2 minutes, and then you can take the rest of the 45 minutes after that. Truly, I'm not going to say anything. So 9:7 is also abrogated by 9:5. Refuse the abrogation, alcohol is okay. Let's take that point down, put it on the table, it doesn't matter. You see, there shall be no treaty with unbelievers. This is how 7 starts off. It says, you shall not have treaties with unbelievers. That's haram already. Okay? That's totally not okay. The one exception being the one treaty you already had with the non-believers. And that can be broken very easily, which is the previous verses are all talking about that treaty being broken. So we get to 7 and said, you should not, thou shalt have treaties with non-believers at all. So كيف يكون للمشركين عهد? How could you do that? It's a questioning and rebuking style. عند الله ورسوله, for God and his messenger, إلا الذين عاهدتم, except those who had the treaty with at the Masjid al-Haram.
And then just as verse 4 said, you can allow this this tolerance for a given time, and then verse 5 says, but then when that's over, we do the same thing with verse 7 going into verse 8, saying how when they were able to get the upper hand over you, they would not respect any tie with you of kinship or treaty. They please you with their tongues, but their hearts are against you, and most of them are lawbreakers.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is the point. I think 7 is as clear as it gets in terms of making treaties with non-believers. Carry on.
Yeah. So 7, it says, how can there be for the mushrikeen? Again, we're talking about the same ones.
Doesn't matter. The mushrikeen. Yeah. For the idolaters.
It matters in Arabic. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in Arabic. Okay.
Okay. Well, it doesn't matter. It's still talking about any person.
No, it's not talking about any. It's talking about the same mushrikeen we've been talking about from the beginning of Bara'ah.
It doesn't say that though.
No, it doesn't say that.
Lil mushrikeen. Yeah.
Lil mushrikeen.
Yeah, it doesn't say li mushrikeen.
Yeah,
lil mushrikeen.
Lil mushrikeen. Yeah,
it is lil mushrikeen. Okay, and it says
without specifying would be li mushrikeen.
The mushrikeen here is the same mushrikeen mentioned from the beginning, because
I understand, but if it wasn't specifying, how would you phrase the word in Arabic?
If it wasn't specifying,
yeah,
it would say كيف يكون لمشركين.
لمشركين.
لمشركين, not للمشركين.
كيف يكون لأني مشركين عهد من الله لأني مشركين.
Yeah, I have another thing.
This is like كيف يكون للكفار. Any kuffar.
Yeah,
right?
No, not any kuffar. The kuffar mentioned.
Right.
Here,
كيف يكون these people عهد.
No, look,
any of those kind of people, right?
If I go outside and I say to the sort of my wife, hey, where's the car? I'm talking about our car, the car. Okay, we're talking about something specific. But anyway, look, let me just continue about this. So it says, how can there?
Khalid, like, look at it a little bit. When you talk about a group of people, especially a believers of souls, you could say, and you understand that you could say that the Christians believe in this. So you're talking about the majority of Christians or the collective of Christians?
No, those 10 Christians that were standing in front of Muhammad at the time. We don't know who they were.
Just the Christians believe it. I could say the Muslimin, the Muslims believe that Allah is one and there's no other God beside him. Yeah. And I'm not talking about a specific group of Muslims. I'm talking about the whole of Muslims.
You're right.
Yes.
Yeah, so, but if example, I say you go into the hall, okay, and there are Muslims and there are Christians, okay.
Yeah.
And you say, somebody, what are the Muslims doing? Well, they're praying.
Yes.
Which Muslims are we talking about there? We're talking about
I'm sorry I'm sorry for cutting you off, but how would you say for the Muslimin in Arabic? لمسلمين. You're gonna say للمسلمين, right?
Well, it depends what you're talking about, the context here, right?
But again, in the context of the Ayah 7, says there should not be a treaty between Muhammad, Allah, and His Messenger, and the mushrikeen, and the non-believers, except
here we go, right? Yeah.
except the treaty you made in Mecca by the Masjid al-Haram. Okay.
Yeah.
So other treaties are no, except this one.
No, okay. So look, I was saying كيف للمشركين and they could.
That's how Ibn Kathir translated.
Yeah. Okay. So let me ask you this: who are these other mushrikeen? إلا الذين عاهدتم عند المسجد الحرام. Do you know who they are?
The one you عاهدتم عند المسجد الحرام is the one that you were signed the Treaty of Hudaybiyah with.
No, the Treaty of Hudaybiyah didn't happen in Mecca. Okay, and that's already finished, right? We already said that. You're talking about عند المسجد الحرام. This, sorry.
Yeah.
I was speaking over you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The Treaty of the Masjid al-Haram is the one happened after the Hudaybiyah, according to Ibn Kathir and his tafsir, that the people he says that the treaty, the one that you عاهدتم عند المسجد الحرام, Ibn Kathir says يعني يوم حديبية, that he means Hudaybiyah.
I respect that Ibn Kathir says that, but let me ask you this: is Hudaybiyah in Masjid al-Haram?
Hudaybiyah is
outside. They wouldn't let the mushrikeen would not let the Muslims enter into Mecca, right? When they were making the treaty, they barred them from the Masjid al-Haram, correct?
Okay.
They barred them. صدوكم عن المسجد الحرام. So what do you mean they made the treaty there? It's not Hudaybiyah. I know Ibn Kathir says that, and look, I'm well aware what the traditional things say about this. It's just wrong. It's just wrong. Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you said that traditional Islam is wrong.
Yes.
And on that, I'm going to jump to some questions because I'm noticing that I haven't read any of your questions. I'm going to try to keep up with them. So Trevor Wright says, is it likely or unlikely that polytheists and monotheists had a dispute about land ownership that led to a conflict in the first place to begin with, which is the true interpretation?
I don't think it was an ownership issue. It was access to the Kaaba, which we're talking about here. That was what the treaty was about in specific. I don't think land ownership was an issue here. Not in this specific case, right?
Trevor Wright has another question. What makes a Muslim different from a non-believer?
In which way are we talking about? Like, what will make a Muslim?
I didn't write the question, so I can't clarify what he means.
If he's talking about like the standards of Islam, there's a responsibilities and obligation to Muslim which is not connected to the non-believers. In the view, let's say there's a big thing that the Muslims have obligation to the Islamic State, which the mushrikeen do not have an obligation to the Islamic State. So there's multiple things. I don't know exactly if he's talking about it in a humanist way, looking at it as a human. There's no difference.
I think he's probably just asking what makes somebody a Muslim and what not. Outwardly, it's just the ones who profess that there's no God but God and Muhammad is messenger of God, they're considered Muslim.
And perform the prayers and do the fasting and pray.
5 pillars of Islam.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
if they don't do the 5 pillars of Islam except the Hajj, if they can, they're Muslim. Okay. If they don't do it, if they don't do the 4 big pillars, and the Hajj is there, of course, then
the traditional view is as long as you say there's no God but God and the Muhammad messenger, even if you don't do those things, except for some who say prayer only. They say that there are some, like in Saudi, right, the Hanbalis, they say that the one who abandons prayer is not a Muslim anymore. But the rest,
who abandon zakah, because we know in Harb al-Ridda, Abu Bakr fought the people who did not give him the zakah.
Yeah,
Right.
some say that as well. I guess. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So
Would the same kind of description work for Christians? The whoever says that Jesus is my savior, is that somebody that is that how Christians identify?
It's similar, I
yeah,
think.
see, that's the thing, because the moment you start I would say, to define Muslim, how do you define Muslim? Whoever believes in Allah and His Messenger Muhammad as His messenger.
Yeah, to whoever says there is no God but God and Muhammad is his messenger. Whoever, that concise identification.
It's basically it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
when you do the Shahada, you get the sanctity of being a Muslim.
yes,
You remain a Muslim by practicing the 5 pillars of Islam.
But then there are hadiths that says the praying is the pillar of Islam, and who leaves it is not a Muslim. And
Right.
as Mubarak said, they waged wars on the people who didn't give zakah. So yeah, there's like when you get to the hadith, there's some contradictory stuff, because there's also hadith that says that there's Muslims who get to the judgment day, they have 10 of like sin, but then they bring one sheet that says the shahada, and it's put on the scale, and it outweighs all the sins. So
I know the hadith you're talking about, but that's the thing. Again, how do you define a Muslim? I would say who believe in Allah and believe and follows the studies or the guidance that have been given by Muhammad, which include the 5 pillars of Islam, including the Shahada, and then how to keep being a Muslim. Because if someone tells me, because I know Muslims who believe in Islam but they don't pray, okay, and we know a lot of people who does that, who will say something, like confess something, but they do something else. And the idea, I don't call them hypocrites or munafiqeen, because they truly believe in Islam, they truly believe in Allah and His Messenger, but they don't do the prayers, for example, or they don't do one of the prayers, one of the things. So you get into a muddy water trying to define them by that. But I think in the context of the Quran, what makes a difference between a polytheist and a Muslim? A polytheist who, in the context of the Quran, does not believe in Muhammad and his God. The Muslim do believe in Muhammad and his God.
Yeah,
Not
I have to read a
polytheists
couple
exactly.
more
Yeah.
questions before we get done here. And I'm sorry to have them all backed up to the end. Lyndon asked, this says, this question is probably not related, but how do they know on Makkah, the black stone? How do they know if the stone is actually from God or not?
yeah, this thing, when I went to Khalid's channel, we talked about it. I remember I read on the Wikipedia that I'm not quite sure though, if I remember correctly, but there is at least a saying that it's actually a meteor, right? And so the official narrative is it was white stone, but because of the people's sins, entered black. But yeah, of course, there's no way to like be sure that it's from God or otherwise. Of course, we don't believe in such a thing. And there's two interesting facts about the black stone. First, it was there before even Muhammad's time, and even the prophet held in a conflict regarding this before he was a prophet. The other thing is, I read this in the tafsir. Women used to. It was kind of fertility thing they used in the days of ignorance to, excuse my language, to rub their menstruation blood with it. So it's kind of a praying for fertility back then.
Yeah, I've got another one from Lilith Liberated. If the apologist wants to pretend pretend this is a translation issue, then why have so many Muslims throughout history, many who never spoke English, used, and she called me Aaron, but Aaron, we'll say Aaron's interpretation?
Well,
Yeah, it's because in the end, what the way they interpret the Quran, the mainstream Muslims, all of these translations are mainstream Islam. They use the tafsirs, okay, they use tafsirs and the narrations and these kind of things, which all come back to when they were written and who wrote them. These were all done long after the Quran, after the Prophet died and all of that. And what happened after the Prophet died is that Quraysh gained the ascendancy. Quraysh became sort of the leaders of the Muslims for like hundreds of years. And it was during those times where the tafsirs and the narrations were put out. And so they had this subterfuge. I mean, it's Quraysh in the end who are the ones who launched all these wars of aggression, right? They were the ones who were in charge, who in the Muslims, who were the leaders of the Muslims. So it's got to do basically with who sets things up, right? So just like, for example, the Council of Nicaea, right? It set up what it means to be a Christian and the Trinity, and then of course, for the next 1,000 years, the Christians will follow that. It's not because the Trinity was so absolutely clear in the Bible, okay? But the Council put that in, and so it becomes part of institutionalized religion. And institutionalized religion, it just keeps on going, okay? It doesn't allow a break. Okay.
Well, whenever you talk to people on either side of a dispute, they're both going to say that the other one started it, and so you're defending. You're saying that that it was the idolaters, the pagans, the polytheists, whatever you want to call them, the unbelievers, the infidels, whatever, that started all this aggression. But I've read the Quran now, and yeah, I'm sorry. No, I'm not a pagan anymore, but it was Muhammad and the Muslims who were behind a lot of this aggression.
I was talking just basically about the expansion that happened after Muhammad died, right? So the leaders at the time were even like ISIS, for example, the leader. One of his claims to being the caliph is that he's from Quraysh, right? That's what Quraysh put out these narrations saying, that the caliphs can only be from Quraysh, even if there's only one person left. He must be the leader. If there's only one Qurayshi man left, he must be the leader, right? So they did take. This needs sort of a study of early Islamic history after Muhammad, what happened after Muhammad, and the centuries afterwards. But it does come down to that in my.
Okay, I've got a couple more. I've got a couple more of the questions I hear. One of them, Landon again. If Muhammad is the rightfully so, then why does he say things that we can falsify? Surely it's not objective truth if it's just based on subjective standards. Well, that was my argument too.
Yeah, I mean, are you talking about the Quran, or are you talking about the?
I don't know what
narrations, or
I don't know what Landon is talking about. I didn't write the question.
Yeah, so I mean, if they mean what Muhammad said, the only thing we really have completely confirmed of what came from Muhammad is the Quran. Other than that, it's disputed. With exception of very few narrations, the rest is sort of disputed. And of course, some documents of letters which he sent to different people, like
if I had written this question, when it says why would you say things that we can falsify, there's a lot of scientific errors in the Quran that we can clearly falsify, and so I would have to come to the same conclusion he did, but we're not going to talk about that right now. And then one last one, and this is a super chat. This is from God's Servant for $10. Thank you very much for that. Hey friends, does Islam teach that all of mankind has sinful fallen flesh like Christianity? If so, then how does the Quran teach one can fix that?
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
Really, there is no.
No, it doesn't.
Sin. There is no.
It teaches the story of the forbidden fruit, but there's no original sin doctrine.
Yeah. What is in Islam is that God put what is it called, shahwa,
Desires,
lust into human beings, so they can falter.
Okay, and I also want to bring up one last thing that I think is important because earlier Khalid said, and I hope I said your name right. He said that I am the Muslim here, but I want to clarify. I suspect that if I remember correctly, Anton was never a Muslim. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
I've been a
Oh
cradle
yeah,
atheist.
sorry, yes, forgot
Okay,
about
so
it.
I was never a Muslim. Anton was never a Muslim, but it is my understanding that all of the rest of us on the panel were at one time.
Muslim.
Yeah.
Yeah, too.
Yes.
Okay, because that's important when it
Yes.
comes to the like the common interpretations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
I,
mean, it's important. It's important if well, I mean, they're all ex-Muslims as well. I mean, with, of course, all due respect. I mean, the end, so they have taken a certain view of Islam from that. If you had like actually Muslims who are here, they would also be arguing slightly differently from. They won't be saying exactly the same that ex-Muslims say. To put it another way.
Khalid, I want to bring you with maybe find another Muslim who actually like believes in the traditional and have some talk between you two, because it's more interesting for me to see your point of view, because you already denied, you pick and choose through the hadith, depending on, I don't know if you what's your criteria. We didn't discuss that, but it seems like if you say that the people who led Islam after Muhammad were the mushrikeen,
Not
then
Quraysh.
Quraysh, who we're talking about here, you said that they are the polytheists.
Yeah, especially like the earlier ones, like like Abu Sufyan, Muawiyah. These people were never became actually faithful Muslims, right?
You
And
say
they ruled.
Muhammad never become a faithful Muslim.
Yeah,
That is the fifth Caliph in Islam, the founder of the Umayyad Caliph.
yeah, the founder of the Umayyad dynasty. Yeah, the son of Abu Sufyan, Muawiyah. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
and
was a hypocrite. He was a hypocrite.
Abu Sufyan lost his eye in one of the wars. So,
No,
ju-
no, no. He didn't lose his eye. I don't know who. That's somebody else you're talking about here.
No, Abu Sufyan lost his eye in the Damascus conquest.
No, he didn't. He didn't lose his eye in that.
He
He
did.
didn't. No, Muawiyah never lost his eyes.
Not
Never lost his-
Muawiyah, Abu
that's
Sufyan,
why Abu
his
Sufyan.
father.
Yeah, Abu Sufyan in the conquest of Mecca. Now I think
No,
maybe you're talking about Yazid ibn Abu Sufyan.
no, Abu Sufyan lost his eye, one of his eyes, in the conquer of Syria, the Sham area.
I don't think he went out and actually fought Abu Sufyan, but correct me on that. Maybe that's a
But
detail I'm
Abu
not sure
Sufyan
about.
said, hey, it's recorded that after Muhammad died, that Abu Sufyan said that he said he was trying to control Mecca and said, do not revert to disbelief because you are the last who converted to Islam. And you
That's
did not believe.
Suhail. I think that's Suhail ibn Amr, not Abu Sufyan, but he was also one of the hypocrites. But it wasn't. I don't think that was Abu Sufyan. Abu Sufyan had a lot of. I mean, we can discuss him, but I don't want to drag on to a conversation
Yeah.
about some historical figures.
So we have
The point is that in the end, of course, it was Quraysh who led. Quraysh, who the ones, of course, Muhammad fought against most of his time. They in the end gained the ascendancy. I mean, that's just a fact, right? They gained the ascendancy. Even the first three caliphs, right, when they became the caliphs, they did not employ any of Muhammad's traditional supporters, the Ansar, the people of Medina. None of the Ansar ever became a general in the army or a leader of a province or anything like that. Okay, Abu Bakr and Umar relied upon Quraysh, the Tulaqa, and Thaqif. And when Uthman came in, he basically slowly put in only his own family. Okay, the Banu Umayyah. So so it was a lot of nepotism happened in him. And then, of course, there was a revolt against Uthman. He was killed. And then there was a civil war where the senior Sahaba they gathered around Ali, and then Muawiyah in Sham declared his own caliphate, basically, to put it in a simple form. Until, of course, Ali was murdered, and then Muawiyah ruled the Muslim world for 20 years, right? Muawiyah ruled the Muslim world singly more than any other person.
Khalid, are you Shi'i?
No.
Because
Originally Sunni, but like I said, I've become very non-sectarian, and the Shia do have a lot of the history right. The Shia do have not everything, of course, but they do have a lot of the history correct, as typically happens, right? When you have the
not
minority.
happens, no.
When you have
when you
Go ahead,
talk
sorry.
when you talk about the collective of Islam, we talk about um, like a minority sect belief, because the if we talk about the Shia themselves, we're not talking about the 12 the Ithna Ashariya, the 12 groups, because those are later on a sect
Yeah,
later on.
exactly.
So the closest sect that we have for Shia are the Diana is not here, and she will chew my ass if I said that. Ismailiya, they are the one of the closest Shia sect of the time of Muhammad,
Well,
because
I would
the
say it's the Zaydis, right? The Zaydis. The Zaydis are much sort of like earlier than the Ismailis. The
it
Zaydis,
could be
the Houthis basically who are in Yemen.
yeah. But the Zaydis, we know that they did not have any. Uh, we don't have any traditional control of them over the majority of Muslims. They didn't have any power.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there is around 10 minutes left in this session. I'd
yeah.
like to ask you guys, let's start from Mubarak, then Boogie, Anton, Khalid, then Adam. How many notes do you have till verse 23?
I have plenty. My
Yeah.
next note is on 13.
Yeah, so do I. Like I mean, I said before the start of this, my main objective is mainly to reach more the any. I don't know how many Muslims watch this, but especially the sort of like jihadist militant kind of Muslims who might be watching, or the normal Muslim who would teach it to their own children to make them see my point of view, what I think that these verses are talking about. And of course, it's not open warfare against all mushrikeen. It's just against the mushrikeen who broke their
Yeah,
their
you
covenants
would
and stuff. So
be,
I've
you
said that
would,
many times, yeah.
if you said that and somebody believed me, you would be endangering their lives.
Perhaps.
And now that we have about less than 10 minutes left, I would like to ask you a question. How long would you last saying what you said here in a mosque in Mecca? You can pick the mosque, I don't care.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure, but Mecca, I don't think I'd be in too much danger about that. I would probably be maybe imprisoned or something like that. It depends if you're a foreigner or a Saudi. Sometimes the Saudi they get the big end of the stick more than that. So one of the scholars who I know, I used to study with in Saudi, he does say a lot of what I said. And he's been in prison now for 4 years on death row. So he's still not out. But I don't know. I can't
Yeah,
comment on
I mean,
that.
that
You have a lot of like I mean Saudi's changed a lot, especially now, but you do have a lot of more. It's not as crazy as people imagine it. That you just say the wrong word and somebody's just gonna come out and kill you.
No, I'm putting this in the framework of you go there on a Friday, you walk up to the speaker's podium on a mosque of your choosing, and you say what you said here in this show, and I want you to estimate how long you would last.
I personally, to be honest, I do think I wouldn't be killed or anything like that. I would probably be put in prison or something, but it would be mostly for disturbance of the peace, that sort of thing. Okay, the Saudis, especially, they're very they don't like any kind of agitation happening within the kingdom. All right, any religious agitation, they don't really care. I mean, the authorities don't really care about what people believe. And there, there could be the odd fanatic who would
So
want to kill.
your charges would look like
Islam, then they care about what you believe.
Sorry, say that again.
I said, unless you leave Islam, then they care about what you believe.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah. So there's a lot of. I mean, Saudi. I've been away from Saudi for a long time now, so I don't know how, and it's changed a lot. So I don't know how it is right now. Um, but
Few,
that's really
not a
the
month
kind
ago, they killed few ex-Muslims, just
yeah,
and accused them of terrorism and just executed them. So
yeah,
it is the situation where they will not. It's on the book, the death penalty for heresy and apostate, because when you apostate or you become heretical, they still call you an apostate. They don't differentiate. But the situation is that they will, for their PR, they will have their public image. They will have they will accuse you of something else. They will tag something else on you. So it's and Saudi
Just
Arabia.
levels of the piece, yeah.
Saudi Arabia is not the example of Islam, and I don't think there is a country, well, maybe except like that really practice Islam as fundamentalist as the Taliban are almost the most fundamentalist sect of Muslims. I'm pretty sure Khalid does not agree with them. Saudi Arabia have a little bit of spice and their laws with the Sharia. They spiced it with some little bit of Western beliefs, but they still, because they want to keep international PR, they don't practice.
Going
I
on
like
from
the
Toby's
saying-
question. Sorry.
I like the saying that if a religion is a religion of peace, then the religious extremists of that religion would be the most peaceful people on the planet.
Yeah, Muslims don't say that it's a religion of peace. It's one of those things that actually was tagged on Muslims.
I know some that do.
There is a rare, how do you think Islam is a religion of peace?
No, I mean, I don't like that slogan. It's not.
So-
It's a slogan that was like basically put out to like. It's just a slogan. It's not. There's nothing.
It's
behind it.
also true.
It's not. I don't think there is a religion of peace. Maybe the Jainist. Maybe that's the only one that I think might be close anything to.
Yeah, closest example possible. So I got one more question. G Skeptic says, I think what Khalid is saying is the Qurayshes hijacked Islam after the death of Caliph Ali.
It happened. Look, it even happened while Muhammad was still alive. The influence started to grow. Okay, it was growing from the surah is actually a lot about that. You know, the when you read the surah, you find a lot of forceful verses trying to get the Muslims to fight them. Okay, and they didn't. In the end, you know, no battle happened with Quraysh. The kill them wherever you find them didn't happen. Okay, because the Muslims the Muslims had they were like they had been driven out from Mecca. So Mecca were the kinsmen, right? So they're part of the same tribe. So some of the Muhajirin Muslims with the Prophet, they basically didn't want to fight against Quraysh again. Didn't want to open up another battle. So they didn't. So in the end, it didn't happen. And so slowly they gained ascendancy. Slowly they got more power. Slowly they got more influence. Okay, they moved. Abu Sufyan and his family and a lot of the Tulqa moved to Medina, and then they started to influence things there. They set up the mosque of Ham, which is mentioned in the surah. So there's a mosque which was set up as sort of like an outpost, Masjid al-Darar, right? And so it happened while the Prophet was still alive. So, for example, when Muhammad was dying and he was trying to get the army of Usama to go off and fight, he was for 2 weeks. He was telling them go. They wouldn't go. Okay, they wouldn't go. They were supposed to go and continue the fight against the Ghassanids, which had happened before. So there was a lot of disobedience to the Prophet in the last year of his life. Okay, and then what happened? Of course, Abu Bakr and Umar became caliphs, despite what, and it's true what the Shia say that the Prophet nominated Ali to be the caliph. Right, it's absolutely clear from both Shia and Sunni narrations. But of course, because Abu Bakr became the caliph, Sunnis justify that. So Abu Bakr and Umar both employed a lot of Quraysh, so they were the leaders.
Khalid, I'm sorry to say, but when you say that Abu Bakr have employed his own thing and Umar, you're talking about the guy who believed in Muhammad before Muhammad was a leader. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So the one that we know in narration that he believed, like from the earliest aspect of Muhammad, he was his like second in command. He is the one that led the Hajj al-Asghar, which is the small Hajj that Muhammad didn't do. The year of Hudaybiyah was Abu Bakr, the second leader of Muhammad.
Yeah.
And he's the one that was with the Prophet when they escaped and hid in
the cave, yeah.
the cave. So
you're saying this guy who was the second of command of Muhammad decided after Muhammad's death or before Muhammad's death to switch the idea of Islam to something else?
No. You're misunderstanding me. I'm saying that's what he did. He was like في التعصب التعصب القبلي القرشي. So there's the tribalism, the clanism. Okay. So once Quraysh became Muslim outwardly, a lot of the Muslims, they were like they reverted back to this idea of honoring them, because Quraysh was seen as sort of like the most pristine Arab tribe, right? So before they were fighting them, but when they were Muslim, now that they're Muslim, okay, they go back to honoring now. And Abu Bakr was a bit like this, especially with Abu Sufyan. So for example, he used to call Abu Sufyan Sayyid al-Quraysh, right, at the time. He would like really
Because he was.
stole. Huh?
We got one more question posted, and I'm going to read that, and then we're going to have to.
Properties alive?
Yeah, we'll have to finish after.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay.
One point before the question.
Sure.
The because Muhammad was not in Mecca, the headquarters of Quraysh. Quraysh was in Mecca. So when he is calling him Sayyid Quraysh, because he is the one connected in their daily life, he is the leader, he's the chiefman. And we know that Abu Sufyan had the position of leadership even before Muhammad. Like in the stories, when you read the situation with Muhammad, when his grandfather died, who was the chieftain, his uncle did not become the chief. Someone else did. So it's not the situation is not the family of the prophet that have the ownership. The ownership is, as most of the traditional Arabic tribes alliances, it's more like if an electors of the elders. So the chief of the tribe doesn't mean the holiest or the best one in them. He is the one leading doing the work of the daily life and managing that situation. So he have been elected by the tribe to be the chief in Mecca. Even though that they converted, he still have that position.
Yeah, but he moved to Medina, right? So I'm talking about what Abu Bakr was saying when he moved to Medina. But would you like to talk about this on my channel?
I would love to talk after the show. Hopefully there will be more.
Yeah, and Khalid, we never scheduled our thing either. We were supposed to have a couple of different chats. One talking about the death penalty, and one where you and I read a surah of your selection, and just the two of us argue about that. I mean, we still need to schedule that. I had to we scheduled one, and I had to cancel it. And I'm sorry about that, or postpone or reschedule, whatever.
It's fine. I know how busy you are, and
it's crazy busy right now. I've got like at least a month of not having time to do almost anything, but I want to fit that conversation in some evening, because I need to put something on my channel. So let's find time for that.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll do that in email. Anybody want to say anything? Final words?
Well, I just say to the people who are watching, hang with us, because this was controversial. Gonna take more time than usual, but we'll get to it.
Yep.
Yeah, and I promise I will slow down any
2 hours for 8 verses.
We're having an argument. It's all.
Yeah. All right, I think we're done then. We'll do again with another episode 1 week from today, and then we'll probably do another one 1 week after that. But if it continues on after that, then we're going to have to. I won't be able to come on again until the last Sunday in May. So.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a good one.